Welcome to the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Show. Tune in for a vibrant mix of fashion, finance, and life's essential foundations. Join us for expert interviews, insightful discussions, and empowering insights to elevate your lifestyle. From fashion trends to financial tips and personal growth strategies, we've got you covered. So grab your headphones and get ready to be inspired. Tune in now to the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Show and embark on this exciting journey with us.
And we're back. Welcome to the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Talk Show. I am your host, Teresa Lawrence, interviewing our wonderful guest this evening, Ozzie Stewart. And when we left off, Ozzie was telling the story of her life. But I want to go back to her book because she said that the book chose her. It was something that had to happen. And, you know, I'm a storyteller. I love books. I tell people that books change lives. And so, Ozzie, tell me about the book.
This young man who moved me to accomplish a lot in the acting, and I'm now, at that point, I'm in my 40s, so in my mind, I'm going to do a little film and, and whatnot.
So before you continue, I want to go, so in your 40s, you thought that was old?
For acting, for films, and I had done it already. I just looking for something else to do. I did the fashion, acting. I'll just do that. But the way you approached me was very interesting because I was tricked into. I said no to my friend. I really don't want to do that. I don't want to go back. I want to keep going forward. And then I was invited to a party at the place called Nell's. It's an old club back in the day. It was a tri-level club. And I figured I'm just going to go and hang out and dance. And then this young man sits in front of me and says, so what's up with your story? I'm asking you I had Lean over there ask you to be in my film. What's, and I'm like, who are you again? And he just said, listen, I have this thing, I have this part, and I think you're going to be good for it. And let's just do something right now. He had a script in his hand to give me, to go in the corner, to read lines. I said, man, I'm here to enjoy. He says, well, guess what? This is my cast party that you're invited to. Everybody here you've been dancing with.
That's why you say you were tricked. That's why you say you were tricked.
Yes. Okay. Yes. And so I looked at him and I said, you know what? Spirit, go. And I went and I read the lines and it was actually pretty good writing. Get on the set. And he allowed me to breathe. And he would say, well, why don't you do something else? Think about, and he would just allow me to move. And it was a wonderful thing. What was supposed to be, I guess, an hour or so with just me alone became a whole long procedure. And after that, he just kept calling me and calling me. You've got to do this. I've called this director for this off-Broadway play. Little that I know, he called me on a Friday to go to an audition on Saturday, and the play is going to be up the following Thursday. And it's a 7-minute monologue to the audience where you're breaking the fourth wall.
Wow. That is so
and all this virgin. And I go in and I'm sitting down with the director and saying, listen, I know he's doing me a favor. And if I'm not the part, plus the accent and all of this, well, making excuses to get away from the whole thing. You've got the part. I'm like, yay! And then, oh my God, I got to learn all this stuff. But anyway, put it to memory, did it. And then he just moved me. And it turned out the play was by an award-winning playwright, Jose Rivera. Really love his writing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
this book is about this young man.
What happened was that a year later, I got a call from the same friend that invited me to that party to say that this young man passed away.
Can I have the name of the young man?
Yes. Renton Kirk.
Okay.
Renton Kirk. And it was just a shock. And after all was said and done, about a month later, these get up and write. You need to do this. You need to do that. I'm like, cover my head. Who's talking to me? Get away from me. But until I got up and wrote, I had no peace. Mm-hmm. And when I started writing, what was coming down on the page was his story. And then I thought, okay, I'm safe. I am. But what started happening was things that I had buried, or I thought was buried, was now coming out on those pages. And in my mind, I'm like, that's not the deal. It's about his story, But it took me 18 years to publish that, because what would happen is that the stories that I thought were buried, that were personal, I guess I didn't want people to read it, I didn't want to put it out there. And at the same time, I could not erase it because I was speaking the truth or to truth, right? Finally, in 2022, I released it to an editor who helped me put it together and got it out there, became a bestseller.
So I have many questions for you. Those stories you didn't want to give out. I'm
Yes.
sure that book helped so many people, and it became a bestseller for a reason. And I want to go back to the young man that helped you. It has been my experience in life, and out of nowhere, someone shows up and is relentless that we are to do something. And they show up like angels, like they were meant to be in your path, but you don't expect it, but there's a part of you that was calling for that person to enter your life. And because I recently had that experience out of nowhere. Somebody like took my hand and went, this is, you want to go there, but that's not where you're going. You're going up, and it's very powerful. And it is like a timeline shift. He moved you into spaces that perhaps you always thought you wanted to do, but never would have pushed yourself to go.
Could absolutely. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, last year we ended doing a tribute to him. It took me a long time to be able to get the people who were involved in his film, to come together, to sit down around the table and have, because my podcasts are live, I go to people, right? To get their story. I feel that if they are allowing me their stories, it is my responsibility to be there in the space. And now that everything is Zoomified, that touch-feely situation is needed more so now. So I'm sticking with it. It's more expensive because I do work with a videographer who's fantastic. Right. But and I don't really want to learn how to set this up and that up, and too much. But when we sat down, it turned out his best friend with whom he worked, her name is Winsome Sinclair. She worked with Spike Lee on a lot of his movies. She also later on worked with him in Georgia. I called her and asked her, she and I had been close. And when I was beginning to write the book, she was there. She says, yes, you got to do this, but you got to write it in a way that it needs to be for TV series and, her thinking. I'm like, man, I'm just writing a book and I'm not even writing this book. I'm like, it's being written. Call her up to say, listen, would you care to be, if you can't be here, because I thought she was in Atlanta. If you can't be here, could you pipe in? I'll bring you in, your voice in, to be with the group. And she goes to me, Ozzie, I'm back in New York. And I'm like, you're back in New York? She says, yeah, I'm back in Long Island with my family. She says, you haven't heard? I said, no, I haven't heard what? I have stage 4 cancer. She says, but I would gladly be here. And that's why I'm back in New York. And so we got that done. But it took a while for, all of this to have some closure. And as you could see, I'm still very emotional about it because they're in my prayers every week. So in the book, all of that's in the book, I think. No, this other part is not in the book because this just happened last year and the book was done in 2022. But yeah, his story was out. And so the things that...
Did it ever become a series or a film?
I have...
Or is that in the process?
I would like it to be. I am so busy with the podcast and now my nonprofit, which is...
We're going to talk about that
it's just so much, that would take some doing, and that would probably make Winsome very happy. We'll see. We'll see.
Right. It's a beautiful story, and I want to share with the audience. I wanted Ozzie to talk about that because in life, God brings people into your life when you least expect it. And, and last week I went to a mastermind in Sardinia, with our friends. Yes. And one of the things he had us do was write a letter to someone, and we all have many people that have stepped in and helped us. Write a letter to somebody that changed your life. It was such a powerful exercise. Write a letter of gratitude. Say everything that you you never got a chance to say if they've passed, and if they're alive, write a letter that you're going to send to them. And I started crying because I moved to the United States from Cuba and my family had nothing. And we moved to Scarsdale, New York, and we had nothing. And there was, and my parents were working all the time. I was a latchkey kid and nobody ever went to my games. And there was a man who was a very well-known attorney, and he was the coach of the boys team, and sometimes he coached the girls team. And he was an immigrant to the US, and he knew what it was like to be me. And I wrote a letter to this man, and I was crying so uncontrollably because he changed my life. He made it me, like he saw me, and he made it possible for me to say, it's okay to be here. And I know that I can belong. And he made sure I did belong. And that was the reason, I was crying. I got to do everything that everybody else in this wealthy community did because of him. And it completely changed my life, because otherwise I would have, stayed introverted, and I never would have pursued my goals. And I never would have gone to law school, honestly, without him, because he was like, nope, this is it. And I said, well, what if I don't like it? He goes, you're a storyteller. Lawyers tell stories. That's how
right.
the best storyteller always wins.
Right. And the interesting thing about this is that after I had Winsome come in to speak on that particular tribute to Renton, it's a couple of months later, she passed away. So now all the people, when I spoke at her, I hate to say funeral, I spoke at her
Celebration of life.
celebration of life. Thank you. I let people know that if they ever wanted to tune in and hear her voice, she has a very distinct voice. And I was able to let them know that the podcast there, and they could always hear her voice,
Well,
because
that's
she had
beautiful.
wonderful things to say.
And with that, we will be right back.
Welcome to the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Show, where we talk about food, fashion, finance, and foundations of life. We are live on KCAA Radio Broadcasting Network. KCAA is affiliated with CNBC, NBC News, and NBC Sports. We are sponsored by Sheltered Studios, Fire Connect, and Building Solid Foundation.